Hello everyone, and welcome to another video. All right, I'm gonna need us all to be adults for this video. And I'm mostly speaking to myself because we're doing one of those videos that I am going to get so hot doing, and it isn't because I'm ashamed, and it isn't because there's anything wrong with it, but still when we talk about some of these things out loud, there's just a natural reaction of embarrassment, right? I haven't done too many overly taboo or kinky videos lately. You're getting a lot of them in this month actually, because I have kind of a fire lit under me. I did an updated Daddy Kink video recently, and as you all know, well, most of you should know, I do have a viewer request form for videos, and I've had that for quite a while. I love it. Some of the video ideas are so wacky even for me. Some of them are ones that I'm just, it's never gonna happen. But then there's also the ones that are just good old standard requests that I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't think of that, and I go to this form usually 2 or 3 times a month. It just depends. You guys know I put out a lot of content, and I'm very proud of that. I'm extremely proud of that. But I'm not a bottomless well of information, of like ideas, of inspiration. That's what I meant. I do need a little help from my friends, right? And one of the things I have always loved ever since I first started doing oddly specific recs is that a lot of those have come from recommendations from you guys for video ideas or requests for things. And I've made quite a few. I have the whole playlist that I'll share. I've done taboo, I've done kinky, I've done just regular old things that there just aren't a lot of them readily available, or you don't know how to look for them. And that is something I pride myself on doing. But a couple of, well, not even a but, I enjoy doing that. And there are still some that I've had the ideas burning for ages, and you guys request them again and again and again, and you know, I can't make them because I need more than 2 or 3 recs for me to make a video. Okay, could I make myself talk for 20 minutes about only 3 recs? Yes, I could. Watch one of my weekly wrap-ups, you'll see me do that. But in my quest to be the romance booktuber who has the most different types of recommendation videos, I like to have usually 10. You know, I like to have 8 to 10 minimum recommendations before I make a video. And some of these kinks and oddly specific things, I'm just never going to come across that many that I've read and liked, right? Because that's the point of the rec video. I'm not just going to put books on here because they exist within that kink. If you guys wanted that, you would just type that kink into Google and you would find them, right? You guys want ones that I vouch for or stand by. So that's led me down some interesting paths over the years, and it's led me to some kinks I didn't know that I had, and it's led me to trying some things. So something I've been wanting to do is to do this video, which you know, which has, I have 8 different kinks or oddly specific. You'll see some of them are kinky and some of them are just very oddly specific. Some of them, as I said, are a little more like I'm gonna have to explain some things to y'all. I'm gonna explain some things to ya, and again, I need us all to be adults about that, because I know you'll want to know what it is, and you're not going to want to look it up on Urban Dictionary, and I'm okay. I'm okay with taking the hit to the search history for y'all, okay? As long as when I die someday, you stand up for me when the FBI is wondering why I looked up search. Why the FBI be looking into my death? I don't know. We won't go there. I don't know. These are 8 different kinks and oddly specific things that I like, that I've read some of the books, and that I would like more of them. So we're all going to use our community brain power for this, and some of them I have like 5 and 6 recs. Some of them I have only 2. I don't have any that are less than 2, but yes, there are a couple of these that I only have 2 or 3 recs for, hence why they've just been sitting and waiting. There was actually, though, one of these kinks which is getting its own video, because when I was making my list, I was like, oh wow, I've actually read 8 of these. So I'd already read 8, and I'm like, that gets its own video. So I won't tell you which one that is, but keep an eye out for a taboo kinky video coming soon. That is one of these that gets its own thing. So I've done enough intro. We're 7 minutes in. Jen, get to the recommendations. We are going to do that. But the final thing I'll share is, if you watching have a rec that I didn't mention, please, 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 please recommend it down below. If you don't want to type in the words, like if you don't want to, because again, I know some people are shy, you can just number it based on the order it is in here, okay? Okay, so you can say for number 2, I have this recommendation if you want to. Also, it might help certain comments not get flagged, right? Okay, that's enough. Let's get in here. So the first one I'm going to start with is one that I have been very vocal in the fact that I've been looking for them since last year. In fact, this is my little book for video ideas. I've gone through many, many of these. This is my notebook. And I put a little flag when I have a video that is ready to be made, and I put one on the side when I'm still trying to get ideas for it. For this kink, I put it in the book all the way up here. And this is where we are today. So you can tell I've been waiting a long time, okay? But this is for, of course, lactation kink or breastfeeding kink or whatever you want to call it, okay? This, of course, was inspired for me to deep dive when I read the absolutely lovely P.S. You're Intolerable. Okay, won't go into depth about this book. Obviously, this is a new single mother and a billionaire. She's his assistant. It's not his baby. Beautiful. Fantastic. I love it so much. It's wonderful. But yeah, there is some in here. And it is done, in my opinion, very tastefully. Some of these kinks, I'll use that word tastefully. Again, don't take it to heart. I just mean that for those of us who maybe want to try a kink and don't want to go full on like erotica with it, sometimes we want to be teased into it, right? Like reading the lactation kink that happens in here is in such an intimate and beautiful moment, and it's so sexy, then I'm like, ooh, I want to read more, right? That is honestly how most kinks catch my eye, is you see an author write it and it fits the story so well that you're shocked and you have that moment of like, ooh, am I into this? You know, you have that moment, but the author makes it fit so seamlessly that you're just like, yeah, what else? What else would it be? So yeah, there of course is this lovely book, my favorite book of 2023. So what does Jen do? Jen goes on a little journey trying to find more. And so I, of course, did find a few more, but not as many as I want. So the next one that I'd found was 1% of You by Michelle Gross. Another one I have talked non-stop about since I read it. This is a mom who has a child and is pregnant, and he is her like grumpy neighbor. He judges her very harshly in the beginning, thinks some unkind thoughts about her being a young pregnant mother who he assumes is on welfare, and he assumes all these things. And then he really has to grovel for a while, and he falls in love with her kids, and he just becomes such an integral part of their life. And also then when she's ready for sex again, things get a little spicy with that, okay? Again, another very like gentle use of it, okay? And also natural, because you'll find there are some lactation kink books where it is not actually a mother, and so they just have the fascination with a breastfeeding kink with that, and that's okay. Again, no kink shaming. I just personally like reading when it is actually a mother, and it's that like type of bonding thing, and like, I don't know, it's hard to explain it until you like read it, but like, it's good. And then another one of these that I found then was The Wild One by Daisy Jane. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Daisy Jane's going to show up many times in this video because the woman has, like, literally what I did as well is I had the kinks I was going to be doing, and I went to her page because she has the content of all of her books listed on her website, and I just opened each tab and it tells you which kinks are in each book. and I was able to add many to this video, right? But anyway, the wild one, I'd actually read the second book in this series because it had a grumpy like hero and everything. And I actually read that before I was looking into, well, that's right, because the brazen one was recommended by one of you. It's one of my 12 recs for 12 friends for this month, or this year. That's why I read it. So I read book 2 first. And then when I was looking up lactation kink books, the first book in the series popped up and I was like, oh, well, let me go back to that. And again, single mom. This one though also is an older woman, younger man. He's a mechanic. She is like recently single. It's one of those, like, she found out she was pregnant as they were getting a divorce. The dad of the baby wants nothing to do with it, so she's moved to this town. Her parents are helping her out, and she actually needs some work done on her car, and he does it, and he becomes kind of instantly smitten with her. And she's like, I am a hot mess. I'm a new mom. I don't have time for this young whippersnapper. Sorry, he's not that young, but anyway. It's hot once things get going. He's very, very into her. And there's a good amount of the breastfeeding kink in this one, I'll say. Where, as I said, it's a little more mild in the previous 2. And then the one that this has the, like, literally smallest amount of it. And it's the one where you could read this one. Maybe you have read this one, the one I'm about to show. And you'll be like, oh, I didn't even know that had that in there. And you can go reread this and see if you like it, because you just get a little taste of it. And I think it's just the good little taste to see if you like it. And then, like I said, you can go to the next level where, again, it's in these ones, but it's not all about that. And then, like, the wild one, it's a little bit more of the focus. But this one I'm talking about, of course, is Dreaming of You by Lisa Kleypas. The breastfeeding kink in this one is all the way in the epilogue, because it is, you know, once they've had their baby, and there is a very beautiful moment of Derek wanting to share the same sustenance that his child is getting from his wife. And it's hot, okay? It's literally on like the last couple pages, and Sarah's like, you mustn't, it's not decent. And he's like, I didn't say it was decent. I just want to taste. He doesn't say that, but that's what it is. So yeah, that has it. Now, the one last book I'll mention, and this is part of the reason too, like why it was hard, this couldn't be its own video, is because I didn't like this one. And again, I don't tend to want to put the ones I don't like in it. However, a lot of other people have liked this book, and it has a lot of kinks in it. And so I'm going to pass it on, but I'm not necessarily co-signing it, is my point. So if you try it and you don't like it, don't blame me. I'm warning you. It's a lot, okay? Because this is one that I actually ranted about. Anyway, I'll just tell you. It was Daddy's Possession, or Possession by BJ Alpha. This is Mafia. Basically kidnaps her to kind of be the nanny to his kid. And the thing that was a trigger warning for me in it is that he, like, kills one of his guards, like, in front of his child because he's jealous. And that is when I stopped reading it. But he does have breastfeeding kink. He has, like, he wants to get her pregnant as breeding kink, daddy kink. Like, it has a whole bunch of stuff in it. So it is very erotic, and a lot of people liked that one. But that was a big, fat, hard no for Jennifer when I saw him do that, because what the fuck. All right. So that is kink number 1. Kink number 2 is also one that I have wanted to make a video about, and I'm pretty sure I haven't. Though I think I talked about these somewhere else. Maybe it was in a podcast with Tara. I actually don't remember. But this kink is sounding. Okay, so this is where we're having some instructional things. Okay, breastfeeding kink, pretty obvious. Okay, pretty obvious what that one is. But sounding is one that will sound a lot more uncomfortable. And not uncomfortable for me, because I don't have the body parts to have this happen to me. But sounding is when there is a special type of rod that is used to go in through the male urethra, which, you know what I mean, right? And you reach the prostate through the inside of the male appendage. Okay? Now that sounds terrifying, doesn't it? Sorry, that sounds terrifying to me. But from the research that I've done, obviously people wouldn't do it if it was only terrifying, right? And I've seen a video or two where it's happening, and I'm like, that is fascinating, okay? So look up at your own risk. Now, I have, one of these is a monster version of this, so it's not anatomically possible, but it's very hot, and it actually is what got me back on the thing of like, oh my gosh, sounding, because I actually knew what that kink was. I had like seen it before or whatever, but I hadn't really read it in a romance. It was more one of those of like, I'd seen it on one of the like kink quizzes and stuff, because I've looked those up before, obviously, for other videos and everything. But anyway, it happens in Seraph by Lily Main, because our sweet, beautiful Seraph, sorry, I love showing this as a whole, their hands reaching for each other. He is a monster. He has been, in some aspects, kind of genetically engineered. Our poor sweet baby. We love him. And he has a tongue that he can make very, very thin. Okay? So there are multiple sex scenes in this one where him and Lilac is kind of helping guard him. And eventually, you know, it's an MM monster romance, and some sexy things begin to happen between them, and there are multiple scenes where Seraph uses his tongue to do sounding to Lilac, and it was fascinating. It was fascinating. I also think it's very interesting, like, sorry to be too graphic if it is, but the fact too that it's a tongue, so it's a muscle, and it's not the same as actually using like a rod, you know? Because as I said, you use like a rod. There are metal and glass, like different versions of rods you can use for sounding, from the research that I've done. And the thought to me of using a tongue to do this, I actually think would be, sorry, I can't say it all, that would be very nice. Because it can actually like move then. It's not just, I'm really trying not to make hand movements. You know, it like goes in there and it isn't just hard being shoved in. Do you know what I mean? Do you guys get it? I don't know. Anyway, it sounded fascinating. This is really beautiful. This series, should you read it in order? Yeah. This is book 6. Yeah. Could you read it on its own to get that context? You probably could. You could. Again, suggest you read this series in order, but in the, what's it called? In the search of that certain kink, I can understand you just trying this one, but it's also very beautiful romance too, is the thing. Like Lily Main, she writes some of the most romantic MM stuff, and then she just gives you all the smut you could ever want for as well, and it's great. So that one's good. Okay, then there is The Chimera by Adrienne Wilder. Now, this was one that I didn't love too much. Like I said, I couldn't make a video for this one because I couldn't find enough that I liked. But this one was very interesting. This one has to do, this is a very dark one, very, very dark one. And it has to do with like kidnapping and slave training in this one. And the like master is training the slave to be able to like and do everything before he gets like sold to someone else. So there is a sounding session that happens in that one. There's also male chastity and some other things like that, that I found really hard to read, is what I would say. But some of you harsher, darker lovelies out there, maybe this will be right up your alley, you know? And then the last one, which was one that I did like a good amount, but it is the 4th book in a series, and I jumped right to it so that I could read about the sounding, is No Good Deed by Marie Sexton. This is also an interesting series because there is like MM as well as like MM. There are sharing scenes, there's polyamory, but there's also a very protective, lovable, soft dom hero. And then there is the other hero who he really kind of needs to get forgiveness from his friend group for some awful things that he did. And the one hero is willing to take him in and like have him stay with him, and they agree to be, you know, kind of friends with benefits while he is. And then, like I said, there are some scenes where they are sharing and things like that. It's very interesting. And there is sounding. Now, what I liked about this one too in regards to the sounding is because this one was contemporary, because this one had, you know, regular people, we're not talking about like people being slaves or monsters or whatever, we see a proper sounding kit shown. You know, like the Dom in this one, he has practiced with this before. He knows how to make it sanitary and safe and sane and all those things, how to warm someone up the right way, all those things. So that's why I, you know, enjoyed this one for that, because a lot of the other times that I have seen, because I have also seen this in Omegaverse before, but I didn't care for that one, so I don't have that one on here. It's done in that magical way where we don't have to do it the right way, you know? Because, yeah, like Seraph, it's his tongue, like there's only so sanitary that can be anyway, and it's just a part of the in the moment. He's like, oh, because he can like use his tongue to like jack him off too. That's pretty hot. It's like a prehensile tongue and stuff, and it's also able, you know, to do the thing. And with No Good Deed, we see a proper kit that is like, you know, sterilized, and then how that's made to be sexy too, because you think, oh well, if we're doing safety first, okay? Anyway, enough about that. Those are some sounding ones. I don't have any other ones than that I would recommend. Okay, now we have public play. And here's the thing about public play. There is a whole bunch of these. There really is. Any ones that have sex clubs in it where they're in front of people, you're going to find some of it. There are also ones where, you know, like voyeurism. There are also ones where people are getting off under the table. That is technically public play. And I'm not, like, we see that in a ton, right? Like, if you're getting someone off in a restaurant, you're technically public playing, but no one else has consented to it. That's what makes it taboo. But I have a few of these where everybody involved is consenting to the public play, because they do involve sex clubs, okay? So we have The Pleasure Protocol by Darcy Romaine and Kat Alexander. This is one I read a few months back. I was kindly sent a early copy of this, and I loved it. This one also has shown up in a lot of kinky videos, just because it has, like, the whole purpose of their relationship. This is an escort and a billionaire. They're both into the same kinks, and they're doing a lot of exploring together. They're doing some pretty wild things together. It's super hot. So this also ends up in a lot of kinky videos. But this one has some play parties that they go to together that are really set up as the, like, full experience. There's callers and there's high protocol and, like, all these things. But yet it's still done very sexy. Really liked that about this one. Then we have, of course, Eyes on Me by Sarah Kate. This one, like, voyeurism is kind of the kink of this one, but there also is a really hot scene at the end of this one that is in front of everybody, where our hero is groveling by letting the heroine do some things to him in front of everyone. Of course, still completely consenting. But, I mean, also, this is a Salacious Players Club. There's quite a few different scenes that are in front of people. Again, because sex club is kind of the point of it, right? Then a series that just concluded, there is Midnight Manor by P. Rain. This begins, I think, with the, like, Midnight Thorns, I think it's the first one. It's a Beauty and the Beast retelling. Now, these are the 4 Voss brothers in this series. They're all fairy tale retellings. There's Beauty and the Beast, Cinderella, Rapunzel, and Little Mermaid retellings. And the brothers are all, like, co-owners of this sex club. And to initiate into the sex club, you must do a sex act and have it photographed with you without a mask on, so that people have, the owners have leverage over everyone who's there. And so the very first scene at the sex club for all of the women in the series is them without a mask on doing a scene in front of people. And then later on, some of them choose to do other public scenes, or some of them now, they go to the sex club and they go in one of their rooms there. But there are some public scenes in there. So like I said, I didn't do too many of these ones because there are so many series with sex clubs, and all of those have public play. Really, a sex club is the only place, a sex club or a sex party is the only place that public play is fully consenting for everyone involved. When you do, you know, and we think they're hot, it's like, it's the same thing with like, if you don't have consent to wake someone up, you know, with an orgasm, that is technically like non-consent, because if the person hasn't consented before, it is. But we see them all the time, right? It's not usually something people call out as being uncomfortable. The same thing happens with public play when someone's doing something under the table or they're doing whatever. Just because the other people around don't know, that doesn't mean they're consenting to it, right? So when I think of public play, I'm thinking of ones where there's either sex clubs or sex parties, because those are the places where everyone involved has consented to it to happen, okay? Again, that's not me judging or anything. I think some of the public scenes are hot too, but they're not what I would consider public play, because it's not play that everyone's consenting to, okay? Okay? You learn new things every day, right? But anyway, like Katie Roberts' series has lots of public play in it. You know, any that have sex club, you're going to find that. Okay, next up, we have one that I do have lots of good ones with this one, because it's something that lots of people love to do. Okay, let me get, where's my stack of those ones? Where did I put these? Okay, so next up, we have pussy slapping, clit slapping. People like that, okay? Again, this is one that shows up quite a lot. Have I made a pussy slapping one before? I've done a squirting one before. I've done like I don't know. You guys have to check out the oddly specific and the taboo list. I don't know. But this was one that it showed up quite a few times in my rec form, and I couldn't remember. I don't think I'd made a specific video. So I have five recommendations for this one. But I will say, this one, again, this one shows up a lot of times. If you have like impact in a scene already, a lot of BDSM, some of the men will start slapping things, okay? Things get slapped and things, I mean, there we go. So this is one that I don't find it as oddly specific, but again, I wouldn't really like make a separate video for it because I don't know. So I threw some in here to make whoever happy who likes this. So here we go. There is one that I just reread, actually, Your Dad Will Do by Katie Robert. Of course, this one has daddy kink. It's revenge against your ex, sleeping with his dad. Super sexy, super hot, nice little quickie. There you go. We have a couple from Harley LaRue. She really likes this kink, apparently. She has this in The Losers duet by her, the Losers series here. So this one, it happens. Like, it's tough to want to say the thing, but that one is a why choose. It's one of actually my favorite why chooses that I've read, because there's 4 men involved in the why choose and the woman, and the 4 men are in like 2 relationships, but also like they share with each other. They all love each other, but there's like 2 couples within that. And the woman, who used to be kind of like their enemy in high school, she ends up owing them some money for getting her car fixed, and she agrees to kind of be used by them whenever they want to. It's a bit of almost free use, not quite free use like you'd see in, like Jagger Cole or something. Okay, like he puts free use into quite a few of his books, and it's intense. This one, I mean, Losers series is intense as well, but it also just has lots of warm and fuzzy moments in it as well, because they do keep to, like, there's always still a safe word with them. Like, they are kind of blackmailing her into this, but they wouldn't do anything horrible to her if she said no. Like, she's still consenting with everything, and the longer she spends with them, the more into it she is, absolutely. So I love that. Another one by Harley LaRue that has it is Her Soul for Revenge. This trilogy has so many things in it as well. Like, there's pegging in this series. There is piercings, there is brandings, but like hot, like the way she does stuff, it's hot, man. And there definitely is some clit slapping in this one too. Okay, then there is also, okay, Liars Like Us by J.T. Geisinger. J.T. Geisinger also puts lots of spicy, kinky stuff in hers. This one, we have a billionaire and a woman on the verge of bankruptcy, and this billionaire offers her a whole lot of money if she will marry him. And so Callum McCord wants, and he takes, and no matter what he has to do, he's gonna get it. And once their sexy times begin between the two of them, our heroine is hooked in a whole new way because she just can't get enough of that billionaire dick. Okay, we know how it is, girl. I see you, girl. I see you. The third one in the series is actually coming the end of September, I believe it is. I still need to finish book 2. So y'all will know if you are a longtime stan. Obviously, love JT, love her, adore her, everything. I wasn't the hugest fan of this book. And when I started book 2, I just wasn't in the mood for that type of hero at the time. But I don't want to get behind on her books. I love her, so I definitely will get caught up in time for it. But yeah, some clit slapping happens in there. And then we have The Antihero by Sarah Kate. This one also has some good spicy times, and this one's really hot because in this one, Adam and Sage are making sex tapes to get revenge against both her ex and his father, who he's discovered his father is a hypocrite, and he just wants to embarrass his dad into like admitting how awful he is type of thing. And so they're making these sex tapes and putting them on basically a version of like OnlyFans or something like that, kind of is what it is. And Adam has a lot of these dark desires, but he's always felt that they're evil or that he shouldn't have them. And Sage, she has been like helping run a sex club for quite a few years. And so she loves all of the stuff he wants to do. And so when they're doing some scenes together, he gets a little aggressive and she's just like eating it up. And he's always a little bit horrified. And in one of those scenes, he gets a little slap happy, as it were. And she's just like living for it, and he's like, whoa, what am I doing? What's happening? So he's definitely going to show up in some other videos for sure too. Okay, so next up we have, let's see, do I own any of those other ones? No, we have Forced Orgasms. So I've had this asked for in a few different ways before. I've had people ask as well for like pleasure doms and like continual, like the opposite of edging, like continual orgasms and stuff. And those are ones that, I mean, I like those things. I just haven't made like separate videos for those ones yet. But we're going to go with forced orgasms. And so most of these ones are dark romance. Because a lot of one of the main ways like forced orgasms is happening is literally because of like assault. So beware. 3 of these ones I'm going to say are all very dark romance because they involve, all 3 of these involve captor-captive. And then I have one that's a bit of a safer one we'll get to at the end. But there is The Wild Man by Alex Grayson. This was an arc I actually read earlier this year, and it is a Tarzan retelling. And it involves this woman who's heard about this wild man who lives in the mountains, and she goes up there, she wants to take photographs of him, but he ends up catching her and keeping her captive and making her his mate. And that involves all of the things we said. And that involves rape in the beginning. And eventually she does fall for him, but for quite a while she's stuck there. Now, this one is very interesting, I've said, because we do get the wild man's perspective. And so we see what he's thinking about when he makes her do some of these things. And I thought that Alex balanced that very well. Like, it very much starts as a horror thing. So again, I said it's dark. It absolutely is. And she hates that she's getting pleasure from what he's doing. And once he discovers, you know, what her orgasm looks like, because he knows what his looks like, but he, you know, hasn't had sex before. This is a virgin hero. He likes it when she does that. Not only because she gets all kind of like boneless after, but the feeling of her, orgasming around him, he finds very pleasurable too. So now he's just all about it. Then there is Tears of Tess by Pepper Winters. yep, this happens to Tess in here. This series involves sex trafficking. Very difficult to read. I actually never finished this series, but I hate saying enjoyed for certain books like that, but I did like Tears of Tess. I thought it was a very powerful story, and that is something Pepper Winters does not shy away from. I need to catch up with her Jewelry Box series, because the last book I think is out or coming out. And I do have an ALC of book 2 and an ARC of book 3, but for how dark the series is, I really need there to be a HE open. Anyway, sorry, why are we talking about that one? But yeah, Tears of Tess has it. Then there is Deliver by Pam Godwin. And I always want to include Pam Godwin. She'll be in another one of these as well. In another video I'm making about this stuff. But also this one, because Deliver involves a male captive virgin. His name is Josh, and he gets kidnapped because he's supposed to be a product for these sex slavers. I don't know what to say. Sex traffickers. There we go. Sorry, I couldn't think of the word. And Liv, it is her job to train him to be prepared to be sold to an owner. And a lot of that involves kind of forcing him through pleasure and things like that. So I wanted to include a male side of forced orgasms, because I will say it is vastly underrepresented when men are forced through things like that, both by like a woman doing it or a man doing it. It definitely happens to them too. But again, we're not like focusing on super dark things with this video, but again, forced orgasms generally can be pretty dark. Now, one that's a little bit lighter, and this one is about CNC, so consensual non-consent. Not those ones all have aspects of non-consent before they have consent, okay? So very dark there. But Captivated by Tessa Bailey, this is the one I haven't brought up in a while. This is actually like my favorite Tessa Bailey. I love this one. But this one is about a woman who, she's actually a comedian, and her landlord and her end up in a like friends with benefits scenario. I won't go into like full details of this, but they end up in this scenario. And she enjoys CNC, but she's always been afraid to do it. And for some reason, she's willing to trust her landlord to do it with her. But I mean, he's a big softy protector guy. He's almost a bit of a stalker, but he also is like very protective of how he does it. And so they begin the scenario, and she has, specifically the heroine does have rape fantasy in mind. So he will really plan these scenarios to do this to her, including like stalking her to her gym, trapping her in the gym bathroom to do things to her, kidnapping her when she's like leaving a restaurant at night. Like all of these things are pre-approved ahead of time, but he makes them feel as real as possible, and he even forces like some orgasms out of her in that. And so that's a really great one. Again, if you like either rape fantasy or forced orgasms or CNC, it's a really good one for that. Okay, moving on to one that a lot of people love, and it's shirabi. So also known as like decorative, like rope tying and things. And the reason why this isn't an oddly specific, and I didn't just put it in like a restraint one or, you know, like that type of story, it's because I actually wanted them to be ones where it is shirabi is actually named in what they're doing, and they're doing more than just like tying up their arms. Like they're doing the intricate ties and everything, because there's something very striking and sexy about that. That's just a little different than if you're just holding her hands down or whatever. So I have 3 recommendations for that. So the first one I have is A Worthy Opponent by Katie Robert. This one is the Hook and Tinkerbell scenario, and Hook really loves to do shirabi, and I love the scene in this one when he does it, because it's a very emotional thing where something that I've always been a fan of Katie Robert, and why I say again and again why it breaks my heart some of the newer stuff that I haven't liked, is because she's someone who really showed me the depth of BDSM before I found other books that did that. And I feel like these are so accessible, yet she makes things very like clear in her stories. And I think that's so talented, because a lot of people have read her Wicked Villain series. And yeah, I just think this one is so good. Yeah, it's so good. It's so hot. I just love it. Love it. But there's a scene where they do Shirabi and she actually safe words out because the emotional dump she's having is just too heavy for her to handle. And so, yeah, he like, wait, what am I saying? There is a scene where they're doing it, and I believe Hook actually like safe words them out of it because he sees her like she should have safe worded herself and she's not doing it, and so he ends it. And I think that is a really powerful scene. And I know another video people have really wanted is for me to do one on scenes when a safe word is used, and there are just so not enough of them. There just aren't enough of them. There's so many times where I would like to see it used just to add to the story, you know, or to put things in there where they are, you know, using different colors to be like, hey, just need a second to readjust and then we'll keep going. Like, I love stuff like that. So that's a video I hope to make one day, but I haven't found enough that have it. But this does. So it has the Shirabi. This one also has the, she put a funny thing in here, the best wedding night ever, in which Hook lets Tink be fucked by multiple people as a wedding gift because she loves taking it all over. And it's really great. I love the story, and the kink in it is top notch because Katie Robert does write some good kink. Okay, so then we have one that, again, this one showed up in a lot lately, but I absolutely loved the Shirabi scene in this one, and that is His Tesoro by Amelia Rossi. And I love how it's done in this one because this is a one that this has a disabled heroine who has a, she needs walking aids a lot of times. Her joints and her muscles are very weak, and she gets tired. And so there are different types of like sexual aids they use in some of their scenes. But one of the scenes, like when he uses his ropes on her, I like because some of the like binds that he puts her in actually like relieve pressure from places. And she also does like bruise really easily. And they're very like sexy. Like he leaves behind some like rope bruises that she just like loves, like stroking them and looking at them and remembering their scene together. So very kinky, very sexy. And yes, this is beautiful. I recently had someone be very like upset about this book. You can see my review about it a few back. This does not have a perfect ending. The characters act a little bit crazy. I don't care. I'm going to keep recommending this book because it has so many things that I love that the next time I read this book, for real, I'm just going to skip the part I don't like because there's so much of the book that I adore. And so for me, I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater, and I'm going to keep recommending that because it has so many kinks. It has such great representation. And, you know, hopefully the author learns from that type of third act and changes it up for a future book. We can hope for that. And then we have The Man I Know by Daisy Jane. But this one actually does have as well a scene that goes wrong between a husband and a wife where they are both new to kink together. The husband's been very interested in it for a long time, but he's been ashamed of it. He's been ashamed. He thinks there's something wrong with him, that he wants to do like CNC scenarios, that he wants to call his wife names. Like he's felt that he has to hide that because he loves his wife and he would never disrespect her. And when she discovers his desire, she's like, baby, let's try it. And so they begin to explore these things together, which I loved. This isn't a marriage in trouble. This is a marriage getting deeper into who they are as a couple. And I love it. But there's a scene where they set up a scene. They're at a hotel and they're doing this. And they don't have proper safety protocol in place because they're really doing this kind of like all on their own. They haven't went to any clubs. They haven't asked for any mentors. They've just been like going at it. And so when there is a scene where she has to call it because she has been like hurt, which is going to happen, you know, that's why you have safe words. That's why you need to have, when you're doing Shirabi, you need to have shears ready and know where you'd be able to cut to get them out immediately from whatever bind they're in if something starts to cut off circulation or whatever. And they actually have a scenario where the heroine gets a little bit hurt. And she herself is like, honey, we're brand new. It's all right. Like, I'm fine. But because of the type of injury and what happens to her, it causes, you know, the hospital staff, the police, like, all to be kind of worried about her health and like what he might be doing to her, which then just makes him feel like the tiniest piece of scum on the earth. So anyway, I'm talking a lot about this book, but this one has Sharabi, this one has CNC, it has degradation and praise, it has a married couple getting in their groove. Like, love it to pieces. Okay, then we have one that will lead into another one, so we'll do both of these. Okay, so we have, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Fisting. Okay, we have fisting. Yeah. I don't see it either. Okay, I don't see it either. But I've read it in a couple books where I believe it. I was like, wow, that is pretty hot. And specifically one, this was a throwback. This is a long time ago. There's sugar daddies, which in all honesty, the fisting will kind of make sense because they do DVP in this one, so double penetration in vagina in this one. And then, like, if you think about two penises together, especially romance hero penises, like, you know, that could be the size of a fist, right? Probably small or probably bigger than that. So that happens in that one. And then the one that this one will roll into the next one is, of course, again, you know, she has to keep showing up. We have All My Love by Daisy Jane. This was the scene that reignited me, and I was like, oh my God, this scene. Because there's a scene where Dolly basically demands it when she's like, I need all the fingers. I want you to do it. She's like, I'm gonna have your babies one day. You can fit your fist in there. I'm telling you guys, this book has all the kinks in it. It is so, it's hot, y'all. It's hot. It's crazy. It's there. All right. It's there. That's what we'll say for that one. And then we're going to roll into the last kink that I have in this video, which is non-sex toys that are used for either like insertion or for masturbating. Okay. And we're going to keep this one up because this one, Dolly does some things with a toothbrush. And even so much so, there is a warning at the beginning that says you might DNF because of a toothbrush. So I certainly didn't. I thought it was interesting, but you know, Dolly is a stalker in this one. And she will go over to the hero's house sometimes when he's not home, and she'll like lay on his sheets and smell him, and she'll use his body wash, and she will also switch out his toothbrushes. Like, she's bought multiples of his toothbrush he uses, and she will take his toothbrush and then like use it herself as well as use it to tickle something down there. And she'll switch out his toothbrushes to do that. So there's a lot that Dolly does, okay? There's the fisting, there's the toys, there's squirting. So much squirting in this one. Like, she gets so messy. There's no other way to say it. She gets so messy. Like, Daisy Jane just writes that shit, everybody, okay? She just does. It's hot. And there is another one by her that uses cucumber inappropriately, and that is The Brazen One by Daisy Jane. This cucumber is used for anal penetration, and then the hero eats it afterwards. Yep, it happens. The Brazen One is a grumpy sunshine, enemies to lovers. Their friends are actually the couple from The Wild One. Like, he is the guy's friend and she's the girl's friend, and so they're then forced to spend time together because of their friends, and they end up together. But yeah, he uses a cucumber. It happens. It happens. Then there is Trick Shot, which uses a Christmas ornament. That one made me nervous. I won't lie. You know, yeah, that one made me nervous, but there is a Christmas ornament that gets used in a sex scene. So be prepared for that. And then finally, this one isn't used for insertion. The item in this one is used for like, humping away on it. And we have Stay With Me by Brooke Montgomery, and there is a very hot scene of this one. I actually have an art print of this scene where they aren't going to be having sex yet, but they are out for a drive and they stop and they're having a hot makeout session, and he puts his hat between them, which if you've never seen a cowboy hat, they're not all smooth on top. Some of them have like ridges there, and he has her hump the hat in his lap and like rub off on his cowboy hat. So I thought I would put that one in here. This one's maybe a little bit tamer than some of the other ones I mentioned for you, but I was like, using a cowboy hat as a sex toy. Okay. We do what we must in a pinch, right? Okay, so there we go. Those are all of the like oddly specific ones that I couldn't make their own video. The video that I will be making on its own, because I discovered that I had 9 recommendations plus 2 that are on a TBR. Are you ready? Is snowballing. And if you don't know what that is, you'll have to tune in to that video, which is, as I said, oddly specific for itself. So that video, I'm actually going to film it right now since I'm already in the moment with this, and that will go up soon. In fact, my channel members will have early access to it, because I probably won't put that one out right away, just because we'll maybe space out the kinky videos a little bit, but you'll see my cowboy shirt again, and we'll talk about snowballing. Okay, thank you so much for watching this. Please make sure you like this and you subscribe. I'm gonna do my damnedest to make sure this is a monetized video, but you know, if you guys want the spicy things like this, you gotta support the channel how you can with the watch, like, comment, because anytime if I got like it could get crazy here. So anywho, love y'all. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.